Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grit and Grace with Cheryle. Just in case you didn't know, I'm Cheryle. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for those who are joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me. I feel like I have tricked everyone into celebrating my birthday with me. I tell you, right?
Birthday!
I tell you that it's going to be a career development kind of coaching thing, and then but it's my birthday, okay? So thank you for indulging me on my birthday. It is almost my birthday, and in a couple days, and so that's why I'm a little extra sparkly today, and I'm wearing the shoes that launched. Woohoo! 1,000 ships, these shoes. I'm made for walking for about 15 minutes, okay? And it's like, no walking. So I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited about this topic. This topic is so important, and the broader topic is how to walk in your brilliance. And walking in your brilliance is when you are fully aligned with who you are, what's important to you, your passion, what you value the most, and your skills and talents, and then choosing where you are investing and working to work your passion and your skills, choosing the environment that nurtures and supports you and where you can grow. And that's kind of that choosing part is what I want to talk to you tonight about, is how do I get to choose that? So I think a big part in choosing your environment, an environment that nurtures you so that you can shine. You know what you love to do, or what's really important to you. You know what your skills and gifts are, but how do I choose that right environment? And the key to choosing is to be like LeBron. Okay.
As in LeBron James.
The LeBron James. Remember he pissed everybody off, right? He was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to go to the highest bidder. So I don't, it looked like he wasn't very loyal, right? But he was exercising his free agency. He's like, I want to be in a place where I can win, I can shine. And I'm not sure I can shine here anymore. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is how to be a free agent in your career. How do you become, as I call myself, industry agnostic? So that means it doesn't matter what industry. I can work in nearly almost any industry. I'm not tied to an industry because of my expertise or my degree. I can work in any industry. So that's going to help me when I can pick and choose where I want to go, where I can shine. That's key. But how do you do that? How do you break out of the box? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm also going to be providing 4 or 5 hot tips on how to do that. So you really want to tune in for the how to do that. And then finally, I'm going to be making my special announcement because it's my birthday. That's not the announcement, the fact that it's my birthday. There's another announcement coming, trust me, there's another announcement coming. But I'm gonna tease that. So now is the time. If you're here, tweet out, go on social media, tell your friends to tune in. If you're on Facebook Live, this is the time to go and hit that watch party button and invite your network, invite your friends, because we've all been there. You're feeling locked in and boxed in to a particular job or industry, and you're just not quite sure how to break out of it. So if you're there, or if you know friends who are there, get online and invite them to this session. So with that, I decided for this discussion, to bring my OG, my first sidekick, my original partner in crime, the person that knows me the best, my sister, Michelle Robinson McKissack. So
Thank you. All right. So
and is she glad to be here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah, got to check because you don't know. Okay. Like, she had me here. I don't even really want to be here.
Oh,
so.
no, trust me. Who doesn't love being in Chicago? I love the city, even in the wintertime.
Yeah, so you came from where? Memphis?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes,
The Big M.
The Big M. Was
Yeah.
it just as cold there? It gets kind of cold there.
Actually, it was very cold. It was very, we didn't have snow like you guys, but it was really, really chilly. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and because Michelle is a great example of what it means to be a free agent. And she got her degree and degrees in journalism, broadcast journalism from the #1 journalism school in
That's right, number one
in the country.
The Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University.
There you go.
So.
Give it up for her. Give it up for her undergrad and master's. She went on to an incredible, successful career as a news anchor. She was a top news anchor on a couple of stations in Memphis. Movie actress.
Yeah.
And I say movie actress because did you get a check?
I'm still getting checks.
There you go. There you go.
And
Okay.
I got to meet Tom Hanks, Woody Harrelson, so. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So she's done the stint as a movie actor. And then now her current role as an elected official. So you are Commissioner Michelle McKissack of Education. So, tell us that how do you do that? Like, do that zigzag, okay? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh gosh, when I was in it, you don't realize when you're in it, little things that you do lead you to where you're supposed to be. And so when I worked in television news, the big thing for me, I always deeply cared about my community and the children of our community and making sure that they had the best. And when I started having little ones and started looking into schools for them.
How many did you have?
I have a total of 4 kids. 4.
What? Okay, did you hear that?
And
What?
so I've got to give a shout out. This is like their second mom right here. This is she's that aunt that's the cool one, the fun one that everybody just loves to be around. That's her. So they come and spend weeks at a time in Chicago with her. But my oldest, John, is a senior at Yale University. And then I have 2 more sons. Peter and Everett are in the 11th and 12th grades in high school in Memphis. And the bonus baby, our little princess in the house, Bliss, she is 8 years old and in the 3rd grade. So,
awesome.
but it started with John, and as far as transitioning from a broadcast career into education, and just simply looking for the best school for him, and thankfully the best school for him was right in our own neighborhood, our public school, and with that, but I wanted to make sure that school, that it was everything that it needed to be. And of course, when you're dealing with public education, the dollars are not always there. We didn't have money to have an art teacher that first year. And so I thought that's not acceptable. So I tapped into some resources and networks that I have. And so we created an artist in residency program called Heart for Art. And we hired our own art teacher, and we had different artists in residence every 6 weeks that would rotate out, from doing things like pottery to all different types of mediums of art. And it started there with my advocacy for education, and it just one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm being appointed to some state level education boards, and then asked to serve on this board and that board related to education. And then people thought I was a teacher, and I'm like, Lord, no, my kids would be dumb as dirt if I had to teach them. I have no patience. I'm like, it's ABC, ABC. So, but with your encouragement, it was actually Cheryl made all the difference. She goes, you know what, you really should run for elected office. She told me this over a span of several years. She even made me come up here to Chicago to do, was a go
vote, run, lead.
Yes, and participate in a weekend-long session on women running for office. And I'm like, yeah, right.
She didn't want to do it. She had such a stank attitude about it. Okay.
So I'm like, it's because of whatever preconceived notions that I had of what an elected official was. And it's really, truly a public servant. And when I realized everything that I was doing, I just wasn't in an official capacity of an elected official. And I just honestly, I thought I could do a better job than the person who had been holding the position for the last 8 years, representing our district. And so, with the help of my family, my sister, my husband, John, hey, he's watching at home, and just all wonderful friends and family, I ran for office and won last year. So it was amazing.
It started with, did you think I'm asking this question because I know the answer to it. Okay, she nearly cussed me out. I'm about to ask her, did you think that you wanted to be an elected official when you were in your world of news and
Oh no,
journalism?
no!
Did you think you
I
had?
covered those people, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, I sat through school board meetings trying to catch a soundbite. No, that was not where I thought I would end up. But as I, left that career, and I was at a time focused on family, and I was working in a freelance capacity in broadcast. That's how I had more time to do all these education endeavors. And so what I did care about wasn't so much about being an elected official, but I deeply, deeply care about making sure the children of my community, that they have what they need and what they deserve. And so that was the impetus. That was the driving force.
That was the why.
The why. That was my why.
That was her passion.
And
brilliance, when you walk in your brilliance, it starts with that why. Are you passionate about it? Is it true to who you are? Is it important to you? Because you will double down when it's important to you.
But if I may,
yes,
just kind of put my other broadcast journalist hat on,
yes.
Because I think, you are great at asking everyone else all these questions because this is like your show. I think people would like to know. I mean, like, because your career, you've had 9 lives, and so your why and how you ended up here. Because you know what? Tell them where you went to school and what did you major in and what did you get a degree in.
I went to Northwestern University as well. Wildcats. We got purple running through our veins. Mm-hmm. Our parents went to Northwestern. They also took courses at Northwestern. My father sent me to Northwestern to be a computer science major. I came out painting and drawing. So it was quite a jump.
I mean, she got a degree in painting
and
and drawing.
I got my degree in
That's the name of her diploma.
Painting and drawing. Actually, technically, it's art theory in practice. Okay.
All right.
But it's painting and drawing. Okay. So I went from painting and drawing to a very, very crazy career. Matter of fact, it was. I'm trying to think. Chris Gardner, he wrote the author of Pursuit of Happiness. One day he looked at my career path, which he said, Cheryl, your career makes no damn sense to me. He said, what is this? What did he call me? The Peace Corps. He said, I can't make sense of this career path of yours. But it is really different. I got my degree in painting and drawing. I finding myself. I was really a hippie child. I was clueless and had no idea I was clueless. I was just like doing my thing, and it wasn't clear to me or anyone else. But it was.
But your passion was always there because in your creativity, because that art degree, that drawing and painting thing, ultimately led to you becoming.
I started my career as an art director in graphic design. So actually, I got my degree. Did a short stint in fashion. Can't tell, right? Did a short stint in fashion, working in the apparel mart and Saks, and then, my father was like, okay, snap out of it. And I went to graduate school for graphic design to get a master's. Actually, I was on path to be a professor of graphic design and visual communication. So it wasn't a path for me. It wasn't enough burning in my stomach for that. So I decided to go into art, working as an art director. So my first gig was an assistant art director at a local PBS NPR station in Memphis, Tennessee. So my first part of my career was that as a graphic designer. I went from graphic design there to, got married, moved to Washington, D.C. I became an art director at NPR in Washington, D.C. And it didn't take long that I began to get curious and something sort of clicked in me. You know what really did it? It was the .com era. I know a lot of you millennials weren't even around. Okay, the .com era. But it was for the rest of y'all. For the rest of y'all that know what I'm talking about. It was the 90s, and these companies were springing up, and hugely valued and lots of money. what really struck me was that 21-year-old young men, young white men, were being CEOs and presidents and vice presidents. And I was just like, what? They're like a vice president, a senior vice president. Hey, Michelle Herndon. So my friend just came in, got distracted. They were being vice presidents and presidents and CEOs, and I was like, and they're 20, okay? I can still smell, the baby powder, okay? They're babies. And so I told my then husband, I was like, look, I said, I'm gonna be a vice president. Well, I could, if they can, I'm gonna do it. And so he kind of laughed at me because I was an art director at the time. So as I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna be a vice president, I'm gonna have a driver. I don't know why I threw that in there. That was like, that went together, but I was like, and a driver. And then it put me on a path. 18 months later, it was 2 years later, I was vice president of corporate communications at NPR. It would take me a few more years to have a driver for my job, but I was vice president. And one of the things that with Michelle you talked about, I want to stop really before I go a little further, is one of the coaching tips. I'm going to give these throughout our discussion. But the first thing what Michelle talked about and what I just talked about, the first thing to becoming a free agent in your career, write it down, is to shift how you think. You have to, how you perceive your value, your gifts and talents and abilities determines where you go if you're able to shift to a different industry. If you are locked and you only think, I was an art director, I was a graphic designer. Like that's very specific, okay? That's very technical. How does that translate to being a civil rights leader or running for US Senate? These are the things I've done in my career. What else have I done in my career? Global business leader.
Yeah, big time.
For aviation company. How does being a graphic designer shift how you think about how your skills and talents and abilities can translate?
And to piggyback on that, I think about in my career when I was working in television and my agent, at that time I wanted to, go to conferences. I said, they won't pay to send me to these conferences because I want to grow and what have you. He's like, well, we just need to make sure we ask for more in your contract so you can pay for your own way to go to your conference. And so I was like, oh, okay. And that's what we did. And, they fell for it. They didn't realize it was like, you could have just paid a whole lot less and sent me to that conference, but you paid a whole lot more. So I could pay like $500 to go to this conference. So
that's a big,
yeah.
That's a second tip is to becoming a free agent. So when you're wanting to go from one career to a wholly different other career, is how do you get there? Well, you have to do what I call grow, then go. Grow, then go. So what I mean by that is what Michelle just talked about, is you have to invest in your own skill development. Don't look to your company to pay for something. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all have no problems. What? Okay? Dropping whatever amount of money on our shoes, whatever the thing is that you love. You need to have that same level of commitment about your career. So just think of yourself, I'm in school. Did a company pay for you to go to undergraduate school? Okay, some of you got scholarships, woohoo, good for you. But somebody paid some money. You or your parents paid money for you to go to undergraduate school and graduate school. It doesn't stop with undergrad and graduate school. So essentially, grow then go. It's important to, while you're in your job, to look at how you can and expand your skill set. That's what I did at NPR. I came in as an art director. While I was in that job, I decided that I wanted to make the move to corporate communications because it was too limiting, graphic design. And so I began to look for opportunities and experiences inside the company and outside the company. Grow, then go. Not just to expand my skills, but to expand my experiences, my exposure. So if that means paying, and people are paying to do that.
Yeah.
So, especially men, especially particularly white men, they know the game. They will plop down the $5,000, the $10,000, the $15,000. They will put it on a payment plan. They will invest in their careers and in themselves in developing those skills. So I think that's what you did.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just another example of that is just the career I have right now as an elected official, and this was uncharted territory for me. I had never served in any sort of public office before, and so I've had to learn what is this all about. And in addition to serving at the local level, for me, I constantly need to be stimulated. I have to, just have fresh ideas pumped into me often. I'm a Gemini, so, I don't know if you guys know, but nonetheless, I got to kind of keep it fresh. So I decided there was a conference literally about 3 weeks after I got elected, and they were booked up, they were sold out, and I said, I don't care. I went to Las Vegas, I hustled up on a ticket somehow from how to register to get into the conference, and I stayed at a hotel that was nowhere near the conference. And if any of you have ever been to Las Vegas, right, that big, I promise you, I walked like 3 country miles just to get to the little tram to get over to the convention center. But all that to say, as a result of going to that, it led to me ultimately running for a national position with the National Education Board, because for me, I wanted to get ideas from people from across the country so I can infuse that into what I can bring to the table in Shelby County and Memphis, Tennessee with Shelby County schools. And so I did. So I just it's like, I'm going to run for office. I ran for office once, I'm going to do it again. And thankfully I won. So I was appointed to or elected to this national board on the Education Association. And now, I'm talking to people from all over the country, New York, LA, Miami, and these big school districts, and seeing what they're doing. So it's just constantly pouring into yourself.
It didn't, and look, it took me a long time to get her to run for office once, but like I had whiplash. She did it so fast. The second go round, I'm like, whoa, okay. But so it's great. I'm excited about her, and stay tuned for her next steps. So you'll hear more.
Okay.
But investing.
I'm curious too.
Her next, her point about investing in yourself, going where you are and then going. Is important. So I've got some other tips, but they sort of dovetail. We talked about how you made your transition from, because before you ran for office, you were...
I was editor of Memphis Parent Magazine, a local parenting magazine. And
you want to talk about the break that you took? You took after anchoring.
I did. I took a significant break. I had, one little one going off to kindergarten, then I had 2 sons, boom, boom, back to back. And then when I actually worked on a wonderful television show here in Chicago, in which Cheryle and I both worked on it. We won an Emmy for our work, so that was really cool. And I had been flying back and forth. I was still living in Memphis, and I would fly up here, put stories, do a bunch of stories for a week, and then I come home for a week, and then I come back up here for a week. And one day my youngest son asked me, he's like, Mommy, are you going to be in town this week? And I was like, I don't know. And so, but it was just, and then at one point, this was really the thing that kind of said, something's got to give. My husband was traveling a lot internationally for his position, so he was out of the country. I was out of the city. Our nanny did something, she broke something at the house, and it was like setting off alarms, and my neighbor's calling me. She's at my house at 7 a.m. with a screwdriver and a flashlight in my attic trying to turn off this alarm. And so I was like, what's wrong with this picture? That is not good. And so I just decided to take a step back. And I was a little bit burned out, honestly. And when I stepped back.
Like Meghan Markle.
Okay, my
that's
girl
a whole
Megan. We
nother-
won't even go there. Okay,
that's a whole
we're gonna do another
nother show.
episode on
that's
that one,
right.
Because
Whole
I'm like,
nother
I'm
episode.
tired of them messing with Megan. I'm just gonna say that.
It's
for the
time to
record.
take off her
Okay,
earrings.
Okay, I'm like,
Get our
come on,
Vaseline.
come on.
Megan, we got
Y'all,
you.
Leave Megan alone. Okay. So anyway, but yeah, so it was that. Came back and was blessed with this little girl. Just came home for 2 seconds. If you're in the same city at the same time, things happen. So had this wonderful little girl, and I just literally, it was just like I wanted to soak that up. I was and a mature mom when I had her, and so I just enjoyed that moment. And so I took a step back. I did freelance work, but I wasn't working anywhere full time at the time, and it was a great 5 years. And at that point, she was heading up to kindergarten. My oldest, at that time, I had one in elementary school, one in middle school, one in high school, and one in college. And so when everyone was like off at school, and I was like, well, I gotta do something now, there's no one to poo-poo over. And thankfully, you just have to, I think, just to really be open. Like you said, had that shift of mindset, and I knew I did not want to go back into television news. That just didn't want that grind. And I wanted to still be available for my kids to have lunch, go on field trips, all that kind of, soccer mom kind of stuff that I was never, that was not me. And, but at that point, a wonderful opportunity opened up where I wrote an article for Memphis Parenting Magazine, and then the editor of like 26 years left like that. So they sent an email out to anybody who had ever submitted a story to Memphis Parent Magazine saying, we're looking for an editor. I sent in my resume, and they were like, what? You actually would take this job? I'm like, absolutely. And it was because it was print. They thought I was like this television person, but I'm a writer. That's what I was. I was,
Storyteller.
a storyteller, exactly.
So one is knowing your skill
Yeah.
sets, right, and your value,
Right.
and understanding how that can translate to a different sector or industry. She had been in news, broadcast, very different from print. Very different from print.
But the ultimate, like, I was a storyteller. And now the part, because even just 2 days ago, someone asked me, oh, don't you miss television? And yes, there are certainly aspects of it, but what I loved most about television was interacting with the community. I was that person. I love doing community events. I'm like spelling bee pronouncer. I'm there, And but what feeds my soul now as an elected school board commissioner is that I'm interacting with the community more than ever, as far as parents and educators, going into school, interacting with children, just doing all sorts of things,
and telling your story,
and telling my story, and sharing with them, because I know that I've been very blessed with lots of opportunity, and I want to make sure that children who maybe don't have that advocate, who don't, just to say that this is what we need in our schools. And I've seen it from a various different perspectives, and I still have children who are in the school, and so I just wanted to bring that to our education system and say, hey, there's some of us out there who still believe in public education. It's a great thing. You can get a great education through public schools. And
so when you think about it, your passion was you made the transition from news anchor to commissioner. A few things happened along the way.
In between.
But how the skills translated, a communicator, an advocate, your passion around education and your children, and wanting to see other people's children have the same thing that you have, and the community engagement. I mean, Michelle, always, your favorite thing about, as you were ascending up the ladder to be an anchor, you were a reporter on the beat. Mm-hmm. Her favorite thing was doing live reports, because she could talk to people and be in the moment, riding roller coasters, whatever it is she was covering, she would do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you became known for. Yeah. And you became one of the highest sought after MCs because of her community engagement and that kind of connection she had with people.
Yeah, just when you scream your head off. Oh, is there a question?
Oh, yes.
So we've got Wilda I am so sorry. I cannot pronounce part of your name. Jeans. I'm grabbing a glass of champagne too. This is wonderful.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
Hey, that's so sweet.
And Vanessa Graham Morgan thinks this is a great topic. And Maria Williams Robinson says the need for change was very obvious in her to her for a year before she changed industries. She was blessed with a stretch assignment that dipped into another industry, gained knowledge of that industry, made contacts, and then gained a position. So like
that's excellent.
Yeah.
I mean,
expanding of an opportunity.
She is Maria. I'm gonna just let y'all in on a secret. Maria Williams Robinson is my sister-in-law. So
she's awesome. She's really,
awesome.
You know, sister-in-law, but she's sister. Yeah.
She's my sister, and we talk this talk all the time.
Yeah.
And she has executed beautifully, and she really did a huge industry shift. But it was one, she invested, gained new skills, made contact, developed herself, became known for that, and then made contacts. I think
and a mom of 4 kids too. So.
And a mother of 4 kids as well. Maybe that's the secret, to have 4 children, okay? You're like, never mind, I guess I'm just gonna lose, okay?
Trust me, she had that bonus too, right?
She had a bonus. They had, you guys tracked each other amazingly. But every job I've had has been a transition. No job I've had has had anything to do or connected with, industry-wise, with the previous job. So I went from media at NPR to Amtrak passenger rail. Like, I knew nothing about passenger rail, okay? Zero. Passenger rail, went from passenger rail to government. I worked for a former governor of Illinois as the chief press secretary. I knew nothing about government. I mean, I watched The West Wing, okay? That's it. I went from government to civil rights. Had not done it. Loved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., okay, Reverend Jackson. That's my experience, had been my experience in terms of Big C civil rights. And then I went from civil rights to running for U.S. Senate. Had never run for elected office before. I went from running for elected office to working for a global aviation company. Only thing I had done there was been on a plane. So that was my only experience with that.
And I just want to say, Cheryl's being a little bit modest, but when she said how she worked for these places, she was like the first of this, the first of that, the president of this, the executive VP of that. So it was just like not limiting herself. And that, it starts up here and just saying, why not me?
Right. I would remember probably the biggest transition where I was really acutely aware that I wanted to transition. Before, I was just kind of, the thing about transitioning too, when you have to be curious. You have to cultivate your curiosity. And that's what Michelle, doesn't mean you have to leave your job to do that.
No.
Michelle was dabbling in education well before she just dove full time by volunteering. It was just organically was happening for her. So when you cultivate your curiosity, you begin to explore either within your company or outside of your company and in industry. And so probably the biggest example of that was, for me, was when I worked for a former governor who shall remain nameless. You know who he was, bad boy governor. I always do this, like, I say I'm not gonna say his name, and then I make a whole thing out of it, okay? That was the hardest job of my flipping life, man. Let me just say that piece. But it was in that job, I was communications director, chief press secretary, was a grind. I had 3 emergency surgeries, all his top executives did. Broken backs, emergencies, not me, but everybody there had serious issues, young people. So, you know, we were being ridden hard and put up wet. So, but I knew I wanted to do something else. I didn't know what. I was like, to that point, been a graphic designer and communications, and I learned government affairs. Every new job, I acquired completely different skill set. And so here I was, like, what do I do? I mean, so I began to explore, and I started with things that interested me, that I cared about. And I remember reading a press release, statistics around some economic development issues. And one was actually HIV numbers had to be reported and by law. And so my job was, as the chief communications director, was to sign off on all these press releases that included the governor's name. And I saw this press release, and it was like these horrible numbers being reported, HIV/AIDS and in Illinois, and the numbers were spiking, going the wrong direction in the African American community, and particularly African American women. And so I was like, what are we doing about that? They were like, you know, the agency were like, well, our job is to report it. We're just reporting it. And I was like, it's just not enough to report this. What are we doing about this? And so from my role as a communications director, I put ideas on the table to try and tackle the problem. And so that was outside of my communications lane, coming up with a program to address a rise of HIV/AIDS in the African American community, particularly among women. And so I got curious about that. Then I got curious about the kind of economic crisis in urban areas and rural areas. And so I asked, no one was really had the time to look at it. I asked, can I spend a little of my time looking at this issue? Can I put an idea on the table for the governor for you, Mr. Governor, to consider, to get behind? And I pulled together a program. And so then I was curious, and it connected to my heart. And I began to learn. I learned about the issues, the topics, and then I met with people in the industry or that are connected to the industry, and I met with them. I took coffees. How can I help you? And we're going to talk about that. How can I help you? Write that down, put a pin in it. How can I help you? And so I did that. And then, so that's how I then made, ultimately, my transition. It set me up for the Chicago Urban League, where that was about, helping bring parity, economic development parity in the African American community. My curiosity led me to my next opportunity in civil rights. So we talked about it's a shift of your thinking. It's grow then go, expanding your skill sets, and even putting your money behind it. Stretching. Maria Robinson talked about looking for and asking for stretch opportunities, which is what I did in the governor's office, and then fully own it. And Michelle talked about this, how to fully own it. Own what? Own your personal brand. This is not about your social media, your Instagram page, and a business card. This is about what Michelle did, getting in the community, doing the work. Yes, having your Instagram page and your business card, but it's getting in the community and doing the work.
It is. I mean, it just, just even, for example, physically running for office, and I had no idea just how grueling it would be, but we literally did it the old-fashioned way of knocking on doors. It was the hottest heat I had ever felt that summer, and just going and talking to people and making phone calls and going to public events. But it was just, I I was so passionate about, it wasn't about trying to win office. It was genuinely about, I care about every child in this community. This isn't about my children. You know, it may have started off as like being the class parent or the the PTA president because you want to see things better, but it's like, no matter what, my kids are going to be fine, but it's like, what about all those other children out there? And that is what I think really resonated with people when I was speaking with them. It's like, wow, I think she really cares. This isn't just some shtick.
And because of your personal brand, she had done the work. She had launched the fundraising initiative at her child's school.
Right.
She had served on a statewide board. She had written op-eds and articles. She had gone to numerous schools
And driving
speaking.
to Nashville, which is about 3 hours away from Memphis, on my own dime,
Every month.
to go to these meetings and make sure they didn't forget about Memphis, Tennessee, in the corner of the state, that when they were, having and talking decisions that would impact children, because a lot of Tennessee is very rural, and so Memphis is an extremely urban area, and I wanted to make sure that we had a voice, and no one knew that, no one knew that I was doing that, but it wasn't about anybody else.
And so it's important to be authentic and building. Here's why you got to really be clear about how to develop your personal brand in everything that you do, and know that it's more than an Instagram page or your social media website or your business card. When you are a free agent, hear me and hear me well when I say this. When you are a free agent and you want to have the freedom to go from industry to industry and sector to sector, you cannot go to a recruiter or a search firm. They are not for you. They're looking for cookie cutter. They're looking for those people who are vertical. They've always been in that aviation industry and they've had 1,000 jobs in that one vertical. Or they've always done this one thing in sales and they have done it in, a number of different ways. But when you show up, with a background career like mine, I have never gotten a job through a recruiter or a search firm. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Ever in life.
And it's true. When a part of my journey to school board, when a friend of mine, Lorene Kelly, we've been friends. We were both reporters working in television, and she said, "Oh, Michelle, there was a new school that was forming, they were creating, and she says, I think you'd be great. Would you like to come to this thing as we designed this school?" So Sunday afternoon, and this is an independent school, we went, a bunch of other random people, just to see what we wanted in a state-of-the-art 21st century school. That, because of my passion, they asked me to serve on the board of that independent school. And then, I did that for 3 years, going out to Stanford, doing research there, and because of that, after, Cheryle said, "You really should run for office, Michelle."
She was doing the work.
Was doing the work.
You were doing the work.
But all that to say, all of this, it didn't come from like, oh, wow, gosh, I'm a teacher, so therefore I should run for office, or I'm a news anchor, so I should run for office.
And if you are a woman or a person of color, they're really not coming to you to pluck you from oblivion to go and do this and that.
Yeah.
So be very clear that you have got to nail the personal branding. That means, in addition to the obvious easy stuff, you've got to go out and volunteer, get engaged in community work, deliver results for somebody, okay? Deliver results for somebody. Write the op-eds, write blogs, go on your published articles on LinkedIn, become known. Be a go-to for whatever it is that you're trying to expand into, because they're not coming for you. They're not. So you've got to nail that personal branding, and it's got to go way beyond the marketing, and which leads me to the traditional networking. Show up, get a glass of wine, rub elbows, trade cards. Look at how many cards you've got in the night. This leads me to my final point. We talked about the 3 points. Shift how you think, grow then go, fully own it means developing your personal brand well beyond social media and a business card. And it takes work. It's going to burn your ass out. Okay.
Stop that.
Okay, she doesn't want me to cuss. I already told you, and mom ass is not a bad word. Okay, I keep telling them this. So, Jesus Christ. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So I'm talking grit. You got to grit your way through that. But grace is always there, and you get to indulge in grace. You'll have a moment where you can indulge in grace. So you've got to grit your way. The fourth point, and after fully owning and developing your brand, personal brand beyond social media and media business cards, is networking. Here's the thing about networking. Don't be a leech. Don't be a leech. Okay, let me tell you something. People's like, oh, we'll give you, just ask for the coffee, the 10-minute coffee. If you ask, you'll get it. If you are 12, okay, if you are in college, if you are a kid, but if you've been in this game for a minute, nobody's doing that. They're looking at you, and particularly if you're coming to them saying, give me 10 minutes because I want to be mentored. Don't be a leech. That's not networking. So the fourth point in being a free agent is that not only that you have to be smart about networking, you have to approach networking from a value-driven position. You have to do value-driven networking. So that means, I told you guys to pin a comment that I made earlier. That means you have to show up and figure out how you can help somebody. How can I help you do your job? How can I help you reach your goals? How can I help you get ahead? How can I help you? How can I amplify your work, your initiatives, and what you're trying to achieve?
So do you have an example of that? Any sort of real life of what that looks like?
So value-driven networking. So here's a specific example of what I'm talking about, or give you an example. You're trying to transition, you know where you want to go, what industry, because it's based on your passions and your skills. You've done your homework. You've identified people, okay, you know there's an event you want to attend. You identified people that you want to meet with. And then your job is to go into that event or meet that person, not saying, can you help me? Can I can you mentor me? Can you coach me? Can you sponsor me? Go in, doing your homework on them, knowing what it is that they're working on, and say, this is how I can help you. I can help either volunteer. I can help connect you to a business opportunity. I will give you a specific example, but the example is so high up and so profile that I spend most of my time thinking about, I never ask this person for a favor. I spend a lot of my time trying to figure out how I can help this person. Close a deal, meet someone, or connect to an opportunity.
I think we have a question from someone who's watching online, so.
Yes, and
Yes.
you've already kind of addressed that, but someone was just, Emery Timbun Ling was saying that skills are transferable, and it's a great reminder that women should not undervalue their worth, and we should not always be asking, why not me? But she wanted to know what was one major roadblock you'd faced in any of your transitions, and what you did to overcome that roadblock.
Yes.
Overcoming roadblocks and transitions. It is. We would not be honest if we were saying that it was all sunshine and puppy dogs. It's just, it can be like, sometimes feel kind of isolating in a sense. But for me, the antidote of when I hit a roadblock, when I got outside of myself and literally, physically sometimes left my house and just interacting with other people, it completely shifted my mindset, and I felt better, and I wasn't like singing the Moody Blues. And it was just like, when I started doing something for someone else, just, if you don't even know what that next step is, but just taking that next step, it will lead you. I can't express that enough. You don't have to know where the end result is. I was having this conversation with my son, who's a senior in college and is trying to find his way now. I said, you know what, just so you know, whatever you get your degree in and whatever job you think you may get when you come out of college, God willing, he has a job, that that's not necessarily where you're going to end up. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to find the perfect job right now upon graduating from college. Or for us, those who have been in our careers for a minute, it's just that, like you said, do something that feeds your soul, whether it's volunteering or whatever that may be. Just do something. Because when you take that focus off of yourself, like what I'm not doing this, whatever, no one likes me, I'm never, all this sort of things, because you start to talk to yourself. We all start to talk to ourselves.
Right.
And I honestly, I was kind of like, was it yesterday? I did not want to get out of bed and just walk out that door. I'm like, I was like, man, should I blow off that meeting? I should just blow it off. I'm so tired. But when after I dropped off all my kids at school, and then I was like, it's 8:15, I'm ready to start my day. But when I went to the school where there was a fire over the weekend and walked through there, it's amazing. The energy I had by the time I left, it's like, I want to go conquer the world. I had just meetings that ran up until an hour and a half before I caught my flight to come up here. And so I think just, for Emery who's out there, and anyone else, you just have to take a step and not have it all figured out. Just don't have it all figured out.
I think that's absolutely true. And I think probably what I'm going to say is essentially the same thing, said a different way. Two things I found in my career coming against some big challenges. The first is always within of this not having the courage, just not having the courage for whatever reason, the imposter syndrome, not feeling like you're good enough, smart enough. So here's when you don't have the courage to make the big choice, then make the choice that matches the courage that you do have. So,
say that again.
If you don't have the courage to make the big choice, the big decision, then just make the decision that matches the courage that you do have.
That's true.
So, smaller steps.
Yeah.
Smaller steps is what Michelle just talked about.
Yeah.
The second thing is, in helping with the courage thing, you don't have to act today. Sometimes we don't make a move because we think we can't do it. Okay, fine, don't do it. Here's what you can do. Role play in your head. Role play that thing all the way out.
Yeah.
Role play that thing all the way out. When you role play it all the way out, you have all the possible scenarios, outcomes. Then whatever courage you have, find something in that role play that you can do. Because one thing, success begets success. It does. You want to call it whatever you call it. A lot of people call it different things, but success begets success. So find something that you be success, matching your courage to your choices. The other thing is, I know we're almost out of time. I would say, final thing I would say is what Michelle talked about, is find affirmation outside of the problem. So if you're in a work environment or a situation that really is debilitating or toxic, or where you really question yourself, and I've had a few of them, okay? Yeah, I've had a few of them.
Yeah.
Go create another reality. I remember once when I worked in the governor's office, this is a very toxic work environment, I decided to host a cocktails and conversation series. Michelle Herndon was there. That's how we met. At a restaurant, something Blue, 160 Blue, and I invited Harold Ramis, the executive producer of all these huge movies.
Ghostbusters, the original.
Ghostbusters. I was nobody. I was like, I'm going to do this cocktails conversation. I'm going to do it 160 Blue.
And she was like, oh, you've got to come for this. I mean, so
it's gonna be
literally
fabulous.
the entire family flies up
My entire family flew up from Memphis.
I mean, our mom, the brothers, my husband, I came up, cousins came up. She was like we were going to the Oscars.
Okay.
We were going to
Harold
the Oscars.
Ramis. And I got Harold Ramis because he's Chicago. I'm a Northwestern alum. He's a Northwestern alum. Let me call Northwestern. They always want alums to do stuff. stuff to raise money. So I was like, hey, you want to partner on this? Let's get Harold Ramis, right? And so they were like, okay. And I got Harold Ramis. I did Cocktails and Conversation.
And he did it for free.
He did it for free. He sure did. And I got almost, a God bless you rated 160 blue because I had Harold Ramis, okay? So I had Harold Ramis. In the midst of that toxic environment where people didn't think I had nearly the right to live or breathe, I went over here, found a local Chicago designer, designed my dress, girl. Okay, I talk about create your own reality. Designed my dress, had this beautiful event with Harold Ramis, Northwestern alum, sat down, I interviewed him, okay? I interviewed him, and it was an amazing evening. The energy that I got from that, it was so affirming. That energy I was able to take back. It raised my profile. It helped raise money for value-driven networking. I talked about that. There's a value to Northwestern. There's a value to 160 Blue. It was a value to me.
And quite honestly,
show.
It was value, I would dare say it was a value to Harold Ramis too, because as big as he was, it was just like that fed his soul. He felt, I mean, like, he's an executive producer. No one really knew who he was. He was like, Ghostbusters. No one knew who he was. He was not the star. It was Bill Murray. But we were hanging on his every word.
Everybody was hanging on his every word. It was
and
amazing.
He was like, yeah.
Right. And so that's value-driven networking. I was affirming myself in the midst of this toxic environment. I took myself out of that environment, found something that I love to do. This is how you pivot to a different industry or different sector. You just have to be creative, put in the work, and have a little faith.
And I know we're totally out of time, but one quick story, like just saying, for there are any guys out there, for the men in your life, this is something that's universal. We're targeting to women because we all know challenges that we're facing, but our brother Todd, who is a doctor by day, he is a medical doctor, but he needed something to fill his soul. I mean, that had its place. Well, he ultimately became a documentary producer of our mother's work. And she wrote sacred classical music, a composer, fell into that career like when she was about maybe 50 years old or something like that. And her work took her all the way to Carnegie Hall. And so by him focusing on her story, because she was being sponsored by a nonprofit in Memphis to take her music over to Europe, well, at that point, he was like, someone said, you know what, you should enter that into a film festival. Well, he ended up taking this short documentary film to all over the country. LA Shorts Fest. Cheryle and I got to go to Sundance as a result of, networking with folks out there, just to help promote this film. So you never know. You just have to take that leap of faith. I think, someone we know, a redhead, a ginger, was talking about taking a leap of faith and stepping out into the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. And so you got to, the person that asked the question, the challenges, those are the two biggest challenges, is yourself and getting affirmation, like what my brother did. His job maybe, wasn't fully 100% fulfilling him, so he stepped outside and did that. So these are just 4 basic kind of steps. I'm going to elaborate more on that and send it out via email. And so if you're interested, if we don't have your email, I'm going to just send it to everyone that I currently have emails for, these tips on how to be a free agent of your career. But if you don't have my email, then go to my website, CherylJackson.com, and sign up, and I will send it to you tomorrow. So I think we're at the end. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you guys have been fantastic. I hope that was helpful. Was that helpful? Awesome.
How about your birthday gift to everyone?
So I got a birthday gift. So now, first of all, thank you for flying up from Memphis to do this. I like she had a choice. Okay. But so now we get to the part of my birthday. Yes. So first, it's my double nickel birthday. So this is the big one. And but I'm really blessed, and I'm particularly blessed and excited to share this special announcement. How many of you, in the room and out there participating in Grit and Grace. Can we get a, oh, snap, snap, snap. Oh, yeah, several people here that Grit and Grace Day was last year, 2019. I hosted in March, and it was the first. I decided to pull together an event. I planned it for 300 women, and 500 women showed up, and we wanted to feed women their soul and their ambition. And it was an amazing day. It was an amazing day. So today, my special announcement is that I have decided to host it again. Yes. I'm hosting Grit and Grace Day on July 24th. July 24th. So it's gonna be a party.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already, if you were there last year, you already know.
It's gonna be better.
And we're going to take it up, not one notch, but several notches. So I'm excited. The theme of the conference is Walk in Your Brilliance. We're all coming to this world born with brilliance innate within ourselves. You don't have to go gain it. All you need to do is walk in it. And so this conference is about how to walk fully in your brilliance. So I'm excited. July 24th, get ready, get ready, get ready.
Save the date.
Save the date, save the date. You will get more details.
And road trip it. For those who are like not local to
Right.
Chicago, or encourage your friends to come. I mean,
It's gonna be a girlfriend
Chicago in July is phenomenal.
Summertime shy, sometimes shy, sometimes shy, and we're gonna help with that. We're gonna pull together a package to help with road trips, to make this a girls' weekend. We're gonna do our thing on Friday, but then you can do your thing on Saturday, right? Spying, shopping. So I'm excited about this. If you aren't on my email list, go to CherylJackson.com and sign up so you can get the updates. We're gonna be doing events leading up to, particularly around coaching. So we're going to be doing coaching events, just online webinars leading up to the event. So I'm excited about that. And then I have a few more closing things. I announced the Grit and Grace date. I'm excited. I hope you are too. So follow me on Cheryl Jackson on social media. We also created a Grit and Grace. If you want your soul fed, follow Grit in Grace on Instagram and Facebook, and so that's been newly added. For these coaching tips I talked about today, just email me or sign up and send me your email. Our next Grit and Grace with Cheryl event is going to be about love. It's February, right? We gotta talk about love, or at least we gotta talk about dating, okay? So we can get to love, all right? And I am gonna have this amazing expert, relationship expert.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
She really
Bella
is.
Gandhi. She's been on Good Morning America. Matter of fact, this is her Super Bowl. This is her all-star weekend coming up with Valentine's. So we had to work around her schedule a bit. But she's been on Good Morning America, the Steve Harvey Show, the Today Show. She is amazing. Relationship. So I'm going to be talking to her. So all the single ladies, put your hands up. So I might be Exhibit A. I'm just letting you know. I might be Exhibit A. So join us. I'll let you know when the date is. We have to do a little date change, but so follow me for that. Details on February, our next Grit and Grace. And I'm just so delighted that you all joined me on this Grit and Grace to help me celebrate my birthday. Cheers, cheers, clean, cheers. And cheers to you at home. We will see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Can we have some music?